Hello, students, and welcome to Mr. Sandwich Reads. I am, as always, Mr. Sandwich. Today I'm going to be talking about the very elusive second-person narration. What do I mean by that? I don't know. Check it out. Thanks. Hello, students. Welcome to Mr. Sandwich Reads. I am Mr. Sandwich, and today I wanted to talk about the second-person narration. What I mean by that, and I want to specify up here, right here, I'll put it. So first-person narration, this is something my 7th and 8th graders have been talking about. First person is inside the story, okay? It is a character in the story. It's not necessarily the main character. If you followed along with Stargirl, one of the things we do, that's a great example of the main character really is the titular character, the character in the title, is Stargirl. Stargirl is pretty much the main character. You can make an argument that the narrator, Leo Borlock, is the main character. But he's primarily the narrator, and he is inside the story, but he's really kind of telling the story of Stargirl. So that's just a great example of Leo's the narrator, and he is a central character, but I would really say the main character, the main protagonist, is Stargirl. That's first person. Leo's inside the story. He's referring to me and I, us. So listen to those pronouns when you're following along trying to figure out who's the narrator. First person is going to refer to themselves because they are inside the story. Third person is outside of the story. They're going to just refer to everybody by name. They might say he, she, or they, but that could also go for first person. So he, she, they does not really help us inside of the story. But when they start referring to characters only by name, or using those pronouns to refer to others, he, she, they, that will tell us that it is third person. Is it third person, though, omniscient or limited? Limited means that they really can only tell you what maybe is going on with a specific character at a time, and they can only tell you what the character is saying or doing. How is that different than omniscient? Well, omniscient, that prefix omni means all, and you can think of all-seeing and all-knowing. Okay, they can be an omniscient third-person narrator, can be anywhere at any time, and they can tell you anything. They can tell you what a character is thinking and how they're feeling and what other characters are thinking or feeling. They could even go back in time and tell you what that character was like as a baby, or they could go to the future and tell you what that character was like or will be like months or years down the road. All right, so first person's inside the story, third person is going to be outside of the story. Limited, they're limited in what they can tell you. Omniscient, they're all-seeing and all-knowing. They can tell you anything, okay? Great novel that I like is The Time Traveler's Wife, which really kind of plays with time. They are going backwards and forwards. I should find a copy of that. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I never mentioned it. All right, so one of the things students always ask me when I talk about first person and then third person is like, well, what happened to the second person? Isn't there such thing as second person narration? And there is, but I don't like to teach it because it's kind of confusing, okay? You really want to make sure that you're familiar with first and then third limited, third omniscient, okay? Once you have that down, now we can talk about second person narration and what that means. It's so rare that I just kind of gloss over it. But today I'm gonna pay some attention to that. You would hear second person. So since, remember, first is in the story and it's I, and third is out of the story and it's just kind of they or the family, Mr. Sandwich, okay? They're going to refer to, or the characters. I said family because I'm thinking of a specific short story. I'm all over the place here today. Whatever. Okay. You can fast forward. It's YouTube. So a manual that tells you how to assemble that really complicated IKEA cabinet might be not a sponsor. That might be second person because it's telling you what you need to do. But my favorite example is in these choose your own adventure books. Choose your own adventure books. Now, this was classic from the 90s. I found this copy of a book in another teacher's classroom. I'm borrowing that. Shout out to Miss Marshall. Thank you for this great skateboard champion. This is a choose your own adventure. I remember these fondly from when I was a kid. So I'll share this in just a moment. But this is also an updated version that I got here from the school library. So thank you, Ms. Brisson, for that. And this is the Trojan War, and I love reading about Greek mythology. So let me just start this and show you what I mean by second person. You are, as I read to you, or as you could listen to the narrator is telling you what you're doing. Okay? So for example, I'll just lead off. I'm not going to jump into this one. I want to pay more attention to my retro skateboard champion here. All right. So about your adventure. You are a mighty hero caught up in the brutal Trojan War. You must pick sides and try to win the war. You will be able to help solve the conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans and make it out of the battle. Oh, excuse me. Will you be able to help solve the conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans and make it out of battle alive? Chapter 1 sets the scene. Then you choose which path to take. Follow the directions at the bottom of each page. The choices you make determine what happens next. After you finish your path, go back and read the others for more adventures. You choose the path you take through this mythical adventure. And so you would read here, and you see it says turn the page. So we continue to read, turn the page, we continue to read. Okay. And then you get to a point where you've got to make a choice at which way the story is going to go. And it even tells you at the beginning of these books, don't just read it straight through. It's not really going to make sense. It'd be like a Christopher Nolan movie or Tarantino. You're just going to be jumping around all over the place. No, you want to follow the directions here to which page you're going to go. And the story may end abruptly. Maybe you made the wrong choice, then go back to the beginning, or you make the right choice. And if you continue to read these books in different ways, you kind of see which is the longest path or the longest journey. All right, I want to spend a little bit more time with. I'm gonna take a nostalgic deep dive here with the Skateboard Champion by Edward Packard. And just look at that illustration. That is something straight out of like 1992 at the latest. Look at those shoes. Look at the skateboard. Oh, what a time. Okay, so this even tells us. I love this warning here. That's the warning I was telling you about. Do not read this book straight through from the beginning to the end. It's just going to be confusing. But let me jump into the actual story here. We've even got a glossary if you need those 90s skateboarding terms. A fakie, a boneless, a backside. I don't know what any of that means. We even got a nice picture there. All right, let me start here so you can see second person narration. Your family has just moved to Park City, California. Although you like the house a lot, you find that it's a little small. It's also going to take some getting used to the traffic and the noise of the neighborhood, which is in an old part of town. Your dad has told you there's a lot of crime in Park City and warned you to be careful about where you go and the people you spend time with. It's kind of foreshadowing here. Make the right choice. Who are you going to spend time with? A couple of weeks ago, you started classes in the Jefferson School. So far, you're not sure that you like it very much. There are a lot of tough kids there, and some of them have been giving you a hard time. As much as you'd like to fit in, you find that your classmates are somewhat cliquish. You sense that if you don't join up with at least one group, you will find yourself being out of it altogether. You've been sort of feeling your way around, trying to decide which kids you'd like to become friends with. There's one group around school that seems really interesting, the skateboarders. A lot of them skate to school and keep their boards in their gym lockers. Although they tend to have wild haircuts and wear weird clothes, some of them are real interesting to talk to. Their leader, Steve Gordon, can do some tricks that you can hardly believe. You have a board yourself, but you really haven't skated that much. If only you could get half as good as Steve Gordon is. One thing you've noticed is that most kids around school don't seem to think much of the skateboarders. They treat them as if they were diseased or something. You wish things weren't so split up. Unfortunately, they are, and you're just going to have to live with it. As you think about how to fit in, you realize that what you really want to do is join up with the skateboarders. On the other hand, there's another club at the school called the Winners Club. Only a few kids are selected to join it each year, and the club president has told you he thinks you're really cool. They want you to join, but it's clear that if you do, you can't hang out with the skateboarders. You won't be able to do both. You're going to have to choose one. Right away now, we jump into having to make our first choice. If you decide to join up with the skateboarders, turn to page 12. If you decide to join up with the Winners Club, turn to page 89. Okay. I'm going to leave it there just because I just wanted to show you what I mean by second person narration. It talks to you, and then you make a choice. You are in the story. I, of course, would go with the skateboarders. Sorry, that's just how I roll. Page 12, I would go to that, and then I would continue, and I have got to use the pages up here. I'd go to page 12, and I would continue that story. If you're in maybe looking for a more advanced book, Italo Calvino, I think I'm saying that right. Once Upon a Winter's Night. I'll put the title at the end of this, but I remember in college reading a book that was entirely and a novel written entirely in second person narration. It takes getting used to, but once you're in that mind frame, it's pretty cool. It kind of brings you into the scene. And we talked about what's the advantage of first person versus third. First, when you follow around that character, kind of it uses feeling and emotion to kind of suck you into a story. Third person, the advantage is you can kind of get more detailed and elaborate on things that may be tricky when you're telling from a character's point of view. Second person narration really pulls you into the story. But it's tricky to write in that style, telling you, the reader, what you are doing. That is second person. So if you're wondering what is second person, it means you are the narrator. You decide. So I hope you will check out some Choose Your Adventures, some throwbacks here, but also know that there are some newer tales written in the second person point of view. Let me know what you think. See what I did there? All right, take it easy. Keep reading.